Hello, everybody. It is just me tonight, Lee Doodle, or Liam. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. It is our 17th episode of a Thursday Northeast Ohio Sports Show. Once again with me, Liam. Normally with my cousin Hunter. He can't make it tonight. It is July 3rd. Hope everyone has a great week. It's pretty much Friday. Everyone's off tomorrow for a 4th. You might be hearing little fireworks in the background. I'm sorry for that, but I live in George, so it would be like that. We'll be quick this week for our F1 standings. Oh, I just had it up. In first place is Oscar Piastri. Second place, Lando Norris. Third place, Max Verstappen. Fourth place, George Russell. Fifth place, Charles Leclerc. Sixth, Lewis Hamilton. Seventh, Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Eighth, Albon. Ninth, Ocon. 10, Hulkenberg. He had a good week. Past a good couple weeks. The top 3 right now is Piastri with 216, Norris with 201, Verstappen with 155, and actually George Russell's catching up with Verstappen. He's at 146. Max didn't have a good, Austrian Grand Prix. At least George finished it, and George won Canada, and he does pretty decent in Great Britain, so hopefully it'll be a good week for him. In the constructors, go Mercedes, by the way. McLaren's in first with 417. Second, Ferrari with 210. Wow. Hopefully they can keep it. Mercedes in third with 209. Fourth, Red Bull with 162. Red Bull has 2 wins and 5 podiums. McLaren has 8 wins, 18 podiums. Ferrari has 0 wins, 4 podiums. Mercedes has 1 win, 6 podiums. Red Bull, like I said, 2 and 5. Williams is in fifth. Racing Bull was in sixth. Then Haas, Aston Martin, Sauber, and Alpine. None of our other teams down 5 have wins or podiums. Let me go over NASCAR as well real quick. Last week, we had the Quaker Steak 400 presented by Walmart at Atlanta. Good racetrack. Chase Elliott won. Kozlowski second. Alex Bowman third. Good for him. Tyler Reddick fourth. Jones 5th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 6th, Smith 7th, Ty Dillon 8th, Bucero 9th, Hoover 10th, Zillets 11th, Allmendinger 12th, Ty Gibbs 14th, Kyle Larson 17th. I'm going to skip around, see people we like. Bush 21st, Bubba Wallace 22nd, and we're not seeing Elliott. Hamlin 31, Austin 33, Suarez didn't finish. A lot of guys DNF'd from 29 to 40. Blaney was the first DNF. Dang. Cindric DNF, Byron DNF, Logano DNF, Briscoe DNF. I guess that down Suarez, so a lot of DNFs. This weekend, Sunday, July 6th at 2 p.m., Chicago Street Course is going on for Great Park 165. This kind of kills NASCAR to me. They should probably have Atlanta or a better course for a 4th weekend. We'll be talking about an F1. We have Great Britain, which is a great course. Kind of funny that they always have Great Britain on July 4th weekend. They're kind of salty about that one. Still thinking about it. But it would be nice if they actually had Great Britain, because that's one of the better courses, like OGs, would be the same week of IndyCar. And then maybe Monaco could be this weekend, because no one really cares about that. And we could eat leftover 4th of July food and take naps. Really good idea. F1 may be due out eventually. It might be hard with logistics, but that'd be really cool. For IndyCar, we fit Indy last race, which was for, we talked about before, on June 22nd, which we expel. Grand Prix at Road America, Polo won, Phoenix Road second, Santino Ferrucci third, Kyle Kirkwood, Marcus Armstrong, Simpson, Malukas, Sequel, Dixon, VK, Foster, Scott McLaughlin, Rossi, Power, Oya, Herda, Pato Award. The next race is this weekend, which is a race I went to last year, where I got this shirt for Pato Award. He got pole and ended up winning. This hat I got from him was for the Indy 500. Shout out my dad for that one. He took me last year too, him and his friend Herm. We started getting into it more. It's for, Indy 200, Honda Indy 200 in Mid-Ohio. Mid-Ohio Sport Complex in Lexington, Ohio, outside of Mansfield. 2024 winner, like I said, Pato Award, is at 1 p.m. on Fox. So you could either watch Mid-Ohio for an hour and then go to NASCAR. Just watch Mid-Ohio full time. It's probably going to be better than... for Chicago, of course, for NASCAR, it's horrible. They always crash and block up certain lanes because they're thick NASCARs. We talked about a little bit about this last week. Because IndyCar had a week off. Tow rope issues. Pillow ended up winning. Chaos at corner 22. And teamwork on the track, which is cool to see. Chaos to 22 was a race that Pep spins and crashes involving Schwartzman, Robb, and Newgarden, turning intense into a spectacle. That was really cool to see. Once again, we Alex Pillow Mastercraft 6 winning 9 races. He's just going to win the championship. This might be a very quick episode. I'll go over some other sports here in a second. Last thing we have is for British Grand Prix, and I'll talk about F1 a little bit. Last winner and lap record is Lewis Hamilton. His lap record was in 2017 at 1:30.621, and he won last year, in his Mercedes. It's 5.891 kilometers. For whole races, 3,006 kilometers, 52 laps, 18 turns clockwise. This is kind of where British racing started. They're Imola or Monza, these old Italian tracks. Britain has Silverstone. It's an old World War II old World War II airfield that they turned into a racetrack back in the day. And they love racing there. It's one of the best. Just because the track itself is good. There's two DRS zones, but 18 turns and Maggots and Beckett's. A lot of these S's, kind of like what they have in Mid-Ohio too, will provide a great racetrack. Like Mid-Ohio's kind of like a Silverstone. A lot of elevation chains, some overhangs. They kind of have their own S's, which is Maggots and Beckett's. It's just awesome. I can't wait. Lewis Hamilton won this race one time with 3 tires. On the last lap, his tire blew out, and Max was trying to beat him, and he wasn't able to, which is insane. The only way that we talked about before Max is able to beat Lewis was in 2021 when it was kind of rigged, where they changed the rules. This wasn't a rule before. The rule was if you let one person pit, you have to let everyone pit under yellow flag. Caution. What happened was the person who was the head of the FIA changed the rule for entertainment. He even said it, signed an NDA, and then resigned after that. Got a lot of money just to leave and take the blame because they did change the rules. Normally, like if you let one person pit, under yellow flag, you let everyone pit if you want. Sometimes they don't, and they'll say, get new tires. What they did for that is Lewis was in the lead, and they said everyone behind Lewis can get new tires. Lewis can't. And they've never done that before in F1. It wasn't per the rules. They changed the rules at one time and said, let's do this for entertainment. It was, like I said, if it was the NFL and it was the Cleveland Browns, and they said, hey, pass interference wasn't a rule this play, that's just not how it works. Like, even with a challenge. So that's kind of crazy because, team principals were allowed to call the FIA principal, and it was just crazy. And so, Max was able to beat him that race, but Lewis had old tires. Max had new tires that are hot because in F1 they have tire blankets. Not really fair. And soft tires, when it's to be end of a race, a lot of the times these racers have medium or hard tires, so definitely not fair. And something I was thinking about, I'm going to take a sip real quick before I say this, was I think it's Cars 2. No, it's Cars 3, because Cars 2 is like the spy movie, I think. But Cars 3 is for one where, there's new racing cars and faster ones. There's McQueen is fading. That's Max Verstappen right now. Because Red Bull's not that good. They're not the best car anymore. And I don't know if it's just getting tired of it. Or if that car's not really that bad. Yuki Tsunoda, Liam Lawson, these aren't great drivers. Even if you put them in a Ferrari or Mercedes, they're going to do bad. But they're not good. You know what I mean? And they're saying that since Max has an escape clause, that if they're in second or third place in constructors, he could leave if they're not in there. They're saying he might go to Mercedes because they're saying Mercedes is going to have the best engine next year for 2026 regs. So it's going to be cool. I'm going to have to buy a Kimi Antonelli hat because it might be the last year, or George Russell. I really like them both, and I just haven't been able to buy Mercedes merch. Maybe I'll ask it for Christmas or stuff like that. But it's kind of sad. Because one of them are going to have to leave. George's been there for longer. Kimi's a rookie. He's been doing well, but he's not doing as well as George. And you can't really ask him to. George has been, I think, driving for Mercedes engines for 8 years. He drives for Williams and Mercedes now. It might be 6. It might not be as long as 8. But he's not the youngest buck either. But George has gotten wins this year. Gotten wins last year. He's pretty good. And he can be. He could go all out. He's the dude for me. For Mercedes. Now that Lewis is gone. But for this weekend, for British Grand Prix, Ferrari's not having the full best upgrades they were expecting, It's just a floor. They were going to upgrade the rear end. They're not going to have that ready. I personally think that it could still help Lewis, but it's probably going to be like George Russell first, maybe Lewis second, and then Lando third. But that's what I want in my heart. What's realistically going to happen is probably be Lando, Piastri, and then George. And Lewis will probably get fourth. And this will be the first year in a while he'll be outside of the podium in the British Grand Prix. But the McLarens are so good this year. It's kind of their home race, and their drivers are going all out. They're young bucks with a good car. And I think if George does well, it could happen. Realistically, there might be crashes. So let's say worst case scenario, because with British drivers that are good, George and Lando, if they're by each other, crash into each other, then it might be like Piastri, Lewis, and then maybe Kimi Antonelli, or probably, Charles Leclerc. But Lewis has always done better at this track, even with his crappy Mercedes last year and the years before that. So I think it'll be a better race for him. I always have faith in that old man. He's just the GOAT. He really is. We see it now. When I bet you money if Max was driving the older Mercedes, sorry for hitting my mic, he'd be doing way worse than Lewis. And we're seeing now that Max just doesn't have it in him. He might take a year off to be with his kid, and then he might also just try other sports, they're saying, and that he might be done. If he's done at 4, to me he's like a Sebastian Vettel, which is never a Red Bull Ferrari driver, who I think he won 4, but it was over a period of time, longer than Max. But Max started younger. I always talk about, I think he was 16 when he started, and now he's 26, 27. So he's been 10 years grinding, has a kid now with a model wife, not married to her yet. So, that's the F1 way. He's got the money to do that, I guess, but we're going to have to see what really happens, guys. I mean, in my personal opinion, I don't think Max is going to sustain that much. Now, if he goes to Mercedes next year, he might be able to win too, because Mercedes is going to be high for a bit. Now, however, McLaren's going to be powered by Mercedes. My team that I can't wait for him to get into it, Cadillac, one of my new teams, because I drive a Cadillac ATS, one of my favorite cars, V-Wing, spoiler, light, beautiful. They'll be using Ferraris. And I think that's it. Mercedes doesn't have that many suppliers anymore. There's Williams, too. So, Williams will be, powerful, and, if they actually might get some wins with the new regs in the circuits that are low downforce, because they've always been low downforce cars. Williams aren't for best at high downforce tracks. They don't have the money to make a really good downforce car like a lot of other teams do and put their money into aerodynamics, so it makes sense that they're better at some less downforce tracks, and we've seen that in the past. But Great Britain's going to be amazing. I can't wait for that. We'll go into some other real quick. I was going to talk about the Indians, Guardians. Sorry. Drogovic is going pretty deep. Always rolling them rollies in lacrosse. LaCroix. I don't know what you call that crap. The shirts. Right now the Guardians are tied with the Cubs. They're in Chicago, 0-0. Guardians currently have one out. One person on first and third. Hopefully we get at some points here. Runs, sorry. We lost to the Cubs the last 2 games, 5-4, 5-2, on Tuesday and Wednesday. Sorry if you might hear this. Fireworks, guys. Let me see if I'm yeah, you guys are hearing that. But happy 4th. Welcome to Jordan. In America now. Jesus. We lost the whole series to the Cardinals. We're doing pretty bad. Our record is 40-44. Cubs are 41-53, so we're going to be losing some of that after this game and this losing probably. Hopefully we can get some on. I guess we have someone on second. Oh, it updated, my bad. We play the Tigers at home. Tigers are 54-33. We started out last week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Play the Astros after that, then the White Sox, and the Athletics. Orioles, Royals, Rockies to end the month in July. So hopefully the Guardians could do more. Currently their standing is second in Central, which actually isn't that bad. We got teams doing worse, which I'm surprised. Then we got White Sox, Kansas City, Minnesota doing worse. White Sox have 28 wins, Kansas City have 40, Minnesota have 41. We have less losses. That's why we only have 44 losses and 40 wins. Detroit once again 54 and 33. If we could beat them a little bit, that'd be nice. Toronto's leading the American. Then New York, Tampa Bay, West, Houston, Seattle, Texas. Surprised the Angels are doing bad. Same with the Athletics. National League, Phillies leading the East. The Mets, with all that money. Miami. That's surprising. Atlanta not doing that well. One of that guy's still hurt. That's really good for hitting for him. And then we got Washington. Central, Chicago, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Cincy, Pitt doing bad. Let's go. West, Dodgers doing well. That's the Dodgers. I thought I had Ohtani now, but I might be wrong. I thought I was right. Padres doing well. That's good to see. San Francisco doing well. Arizona, and then Colorado doing bad. Surprise there, but they got a Gold Cup final on Sunday the 6th. USA is playing Mexico, and I think that's soccer. We got Wimbledon, which I don't know if everyone's seen. Coco Gauff kind of had a bad week. Didn't do well at all, and got upset. It happens in that sport. You can't be that consistent. None of them really were, except for goats. Sometimes not really. Well, that's it for sports, guys. Once again, above me, we can see some of that women's tennis going on right now. Below me, you could see, F1. Yep. Once again, women's tennis and the British Grand Prix, which I have. Free practice 1 starts up in 10 hours, guys, so that's good tomorrow morning. There's no sprint this weekend, so it's free practices, and then a qualifying and race on Sunday. Let me look on my phone what the times were. I thought it was 9 and 10. They kind of been doing a consistent 9 and 10 every couple weeks for F1, which is good. That's one thing about F1. They actually keep pretty consistent times, except some certain countries, because of what goes on and how far away they are. So we have the race at 10 on Sunday and qualifying at 10 on Saturday. So same times. I like that. Consistency. Once again, I hope everyone has a great and safe holiday. You better not be blowing up your hands and shit. That stuff's valuable. So be safe out there, guys. Have a great long weekend. 3 days of 4th. Next year, it's our 250th, I believe. Or something like that. And it's 275. And we cannot be... we get... For 4th is on a Saturday, so hopefully we get that Friday off. We'll see if capitalism wins, though. Have a great night, everybody. We'll be back with the Healthy Living Show on Sunday. We'll probably be doing that. I don't know time yet, but check the Facebook. Make sure you drop a like if you like the show so far. And drop comments if you have any input. Hope everyone has a great, once again, 4th. Please follow us on Facebook and share and like on there so we can start streaming on there. I'd really appreciate it, guys. If you have any input about the UI, I kind of like it, but let us know.